Yeah, we got soul satisfaction.
Hey guys, how's it going? You're watching the Jesse Lee Falls podcast. Today we're going to talk about scaling. Scaling your business, scaling your band. And I know it's kind of ironic because this is a podcast that's it's geared towards the micro end of the business. And that might seem maybe counterintuitive to what it's about, but it's really not. Because when I talk about scaling, I'm talking about exponential growth. So everybody's at a different level. And so scaling for one band is going to be different for another band because it's subjective. It depends on where you're at. So I'll use myself as an example. I've been playing in the northwest, the North Coast area for, I don't know, probably like over a decade. I've been back here from California for like 15 years. And what I did was I pretty much saturated myself within a 100-mile radius from where I live. And for me to scale means that I have to basically start going outside of that 100-mile radius, and maybe into a 200-mile radius, a 300-mile radius, and on and on. What I've done for myself is I'm going within like a 400-mile radius right now. So that basically means, I'm in Astoria, so basically anywhere from Bellingham over to Boise, and then as far south as probably Sacramento. So that's a realistic reach that I have within my grasps, and that's because I've done the work, and so I've built my thing locally, and then I've built within a 100-mile radius. Okay, and then I kept going. So if you guys are basically at the local level, then for you to scale would be to just start getting outside of your local area, get into a 100-mile radius, and then start growing that way where you're going into a 200-mile radius, 300-mile radius, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so there's appropriate ways to scale your band or business. And what I mean is, we have to be really careful about how big our dreams are. Dreaming big is good, and having having big dreams is not a bad thing, but it becomes delusional when the map that you're dealing with doesn't actually it doesn't map onto, or I'm sorry, your strategy doesn't actually map onto the realistic terrain that you're dealing in. So that's when it becomes delusional. So what I'm talking about when I'm talking about scaling your band or business, it really has to do with those micro units again. So I'm going to get back into the micro side of this, because what we want to really prevent is any kind of overreaching. Because if you overreach, you can actually bring things to an end. You can maybe put your band or your band members in situations that they just really weren't prepared for, and the pressure, and then maybe they weren't, you or them really weren't up to the challenge of that performance at that level, or whatever. I know this is all very subjective, but the point to this is that we scale appropriately in ways that we can physically manage and mentally manage. So if we go too big too soon, we can just basically you bring a lot more detriment to the table than you are bringing anything good. So I'll use myself as an example again. I'm in a situation right now where I want to scale again. And I've gone over this, with some of my band members. It's a lot about brainstorming, because you do have to do things in a certain way, that you're not shooting yourself in the foot. So one thing that I came up with just recently for myself and for my band and where we're at, because we've established ourselves, we're growing, and now I kind of want to put the see if the proof is really in the pudding. So by doing that, I'm really looking at getting, if I really have developed a fan base like I think I have, then I should go out and I should rent a theater, one of these local theaters. And for example, we have a theater here locally that it seats like 600 people, and I'm trying to rent that out right now for next year. So, which this is kind of cool because I'm documenting this, and so we can see what the succession is of that throughout the months. But I'm trying to get that booked for next year, and I'm trying to get a couple other bands involved, really great artists that I have been friends with for a decade or two. And the point is to see if we can actually fill a theater house. And so that's kind of where I'm at as far as scaling my personal business and band. I know that's kind of funny. I use business and band really synonymously because they really are. I just, anytime I say, oh, my band, there's something about it that makes me feel that it's juvenile, I guess. It's like 40-year-olds talking about being in a band is about as attractive as a 40-year-old riding a skateboard to work. So I try to use the term business or brand as a synonym for band. And maybe that's just my own weird things. I just feel like I don't get taken seriously if I say band too much. So anyway, that might be my own issue. But anyways, next on Dr. Phil. So getting past that, that's kind of where I'm at as far as where I feel like I need to scale. And I know that this kind of probably feels kind of like a little bit of a counterproductive message, because I am always talking about the micro music business and try to stay small. But I don't want you guys confusing that with, there's a difference between making micro units towards something good and big, okay? So we don't just dive in and grab that big thing. Like it takes hard work in those micro units. But what I'm talking about scaling is that you can scale in micro units. And the reason why you do want to be thinking about scaling, or basically it's exponential growth is really what we're talking about. You guys do need to be thinking about growing. If you're not growing, then you're dying, or you're flatlining, whatever, you don't want to be too neutral. You don't want to be too stagnant, because it's like, that's how scum and mold grows. So it might not be a really good, that might not have been a very good metaphor. But the reason why I'm doing this specific podcast, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but I wore a nice shirt to this one, for this one. I wore a nice shirt for this podcast because this really is about building some value, and just by putting on a nice shirt instead of doing this podcast, and like usually I'm wearing like a skateboard t-shirt. I tend to dress like an unsponsored skateboarder still. It's from my youth, man. I don't know, but I wanted to show you that even putting on a nice shirt is scaling, because I'm trying to look a little bit more professional on this one. You know, I'm talking about something that is very important, and you know, if you guys aren't growing, then you guys are gonna, you know, it's just a good recipe for depression and all kinds of stuff that we negative stuff that we just don't want around us. So no matter where you're at, no matter what level you're at, if you're on a local level and you're just getting, you know, maybe you've got one or two places, okay, then scaling for you is getting a couple more places to play, okay? So if you're at the local level, but you have been expanding outside of your area and you've been playing out a little bit more and getting a good name for yourselves in certain places that are like 100 miles out of your area, maybe 200 miles out of your area, I would suggest that you guys probably need to start thinking more about how you can scale your shows up. One thing that I have just recently basically I got a good gig here locally every year for the 4th of July in my hometown, and it's a good paying gig. So there's also other things that you should be thinking about when it's appropriate for you to ask for a little bit more money. If you're playing bars, the bars really tend to have a fixed rate. You know, if you can, I mean, look, if you're getting $400 or $500, you know, as far as a guarantee from any bar, you're doing, you know, that's pretty normal for the bar. If you're getting some outdoor events where maybe you're the only band and you're actually providing the sound system, you're providing the stage, you're acting as a production company, that's a way for you to scale your price up. You're acting as the production company. So it's not just an instant platform that's just being given to you. So that's another way for you guys to be able to scale up as far as financially. You just got to know when it's appropriate to ask for some more money, because if you're doing more work, if you're providing more, it's like, hey man, that's time and energy, and you guys need to understand that your time and energy is that's your real commodity. You know, the money is, you know, pretty much the byproduct of what you're doing. It's your time and energy that's valuable. So you guys need to respect your time and energy. You need to be able to know when it's time to up the value dollar amount. And like I said, those times will be, you know, a little bit more few and far between, but there's corporate gigs, weddings, outdoor, you know, just outdoor production stuff. Like I said, I do the 4th of July here in my hometown now. That's a gig I basically locked in for myself every year. I've got that. You know, until they basically back out on me or tell me that I don't have it anymore. So that's just another example of, you know, depending on what you're doing, you can ask for more money. But again, you guys also, you can't ask for anything and you can't put a dollar amount on anything that you can't actually bring. Okay, you got to bring that quality. And I know that you guys, you know, I know that most of you guys are dealing in high quality stuff, and that, you know, a lot of people just don't know who you are. So as long as you're always bringing quality and professionalism, then you're going to be worth that dollar amount that you're putting on. And again, just don't overshoot and don't overreach. Don't be pretentious. Don't be delusional. You know, if you need help trying to figure out what kind of a dollar amount or what value you should be putting on your band, you know, I don't know, ask for help.